The morning light crept through the blinds, casting lines across the bathroom floor where Ava Richardson stood. Her hands trembled, the stark white of the pregnancy test stark against her skin, its single line an unyielding symbol of disappointment. The silence in the room was suffocating, broken only by the distant sound of a lawnmower and the soft thud of her heart sinking. Another month, another shadow on their hopes. Michael Thompson, leaning against the doorway, studied Ava's slumped shoulders, the way her eyes couldn't meet his. He moved closer, enveloping her in his arms, feeling the tremor of her breath against his chest. His voice was a mere whisper, laced with the pain of shared sorrow. "We'll try again." But hope was a well running dry, and his reassurances felt like echoes of a promise neither could keep. Their day unfolded in silence, each lost in their own storm of what-ifs. By evening, the tension had swelled into an argument about their dwindling finances. The living room, once a sanctuary, was now littered with brochures of fertility clinics, each promising the miracle they yearned for. The coffee table, covered in bills, served as a battleground where dreams and reality clashed. Ava's voice rose over the numbers. "We can't afford another round, Michael." Her words, a stark reminder of the cost of their pursuit, a cost measured not just in dollars, but in fragments of their peace. In the garden later, Ava's gaze fell upon a tiny sparrow, its wings too weak to carry it back to the safety of its nest. Carefully, she cupped the fragile creature, feeling its heartbeat against her palm. A fleeting moment of connection. She lifted it towards the safety of the branches above, her eyes following its ascent. Yet nature, in its cruel indifference, had other plans. A shadow passed overhead, and in an instant the baby bird was gone, its vulnerability snatched by the swift talons of reality. Ava watched, numb, the event unfolding like a grim metaphor for her own struggles. The small life she had tried to save was now just another echo of loss. That night, as Ava lay awake, the peculiar dizziness from earlier returned. She brushed it aside, a minor nuisance against the backdrop of her deeper ache. Michael, too, found no rest. He thumbed through an old photo album, the images of his ancestors, a silent testament to the lineage waiting to be continued, a continuation that felt more elusive with each passing day. The next morning, an email notification pulled Ava from her thoughts. "Learn more about adoption," the subject line read. Her finger hovered over the delete button, her mind warring between curiosity and fear. With a click, the message disappeared, but the seed of an idea it planted lingered, whispering of alternative paths yet to be explored. As dusk settled, Ava stepped into the nursery, a room filled with dreams unspoken, painted in shades of hope and anticipation. It stood untouched, a monument to their longing. Michael found her there, surrounded by soft toys and unopened books. No words were needed. Their eyes met, and a silent agreement passed between them. They would try once more, because hope, however fragile, was the only light left in the darkness of their yearning. The sterile white walls of Dr. Patel's office were adorned with certificates and smiling baby photos, a gallery of success that Ava and Michael could only hope to join. Dr. Patel introduced himself with a firm handshake and a measured smile, then unfolded the details of an experimental treatment. His voice was clinical, yet tinged with optimism, each word a lifeline thrown into the stormy sea of Ava and Michael's fears. Ava leaned in, absorbing the jargon about success rates and hormonal protocols. Her mind raced, imagining a future where the empty crib in their home cradled life. Michael, however, seemed anchored in place, the furrows in his brow deepening with each mention of potential side effects and the substantial cost. The weight of his reluctance hung between them, an invisible but palpable presence. Later that evening, the couple sat in the dim glow of their dining room, a half-eaten meal forgotten between them. Michael's confession cut through the quiet. "I'm scared, Ava," he admitted, his voice a soft tremor in the vastness of their struggle. "What if it doesn't work? What if we lose ourselves in this process?" Ava reached for his hand, her own fear mirrored in her tight grip. She too was scared, but the possibility of motherhood was a siren call she couldn't resist. That night, Ava scrolled through her social media feed, a masochistic ritual that brought more pain than pleasure. Each post from her friends, baby announcements, first steps, family vacations, was a reminder of the life she yearned for but felt barred from. Beside her, Michael corrected essays, his red pen pausing over a student's metaphor about crossroads and choice. He longed for the simplicity of their life before this journey began. The call came unexpectedly, a harsh ring that tore through the quiet of their home. Ava's mother was in the hospital, her condition serious. The news struck Ava like a physical blow, the world tilting on its axis. The urgency of family, of health, of life itself snapped into focus. They rushed to the hospital, where the smell of antiseptic and the hushed voices of nurses created a labyrinth of worry. Ava's mother lay frail and pale, a shadow of the vibrant woman who had always been Ava's rock. Michael stood by Ava's side, a silent sentinel as hours passed in a blur of beeping monitors and whispered prayers. In the midst of the sterile chaos, Ava found clarity. Life was slipping through their fingers, the sand in the hourglass, a reminder of its relentless march. She looked at Mikhail, his eyes meeting hers, and without words, they understood. It was time to take the leap of faith. Time to chase the flicker of hope that Dr. Patel had offered. As they left the hospital, the night air felt like a balm, the stars above whispering of the infinite paths one could walk. Ava squeezed Michael's hand, a silent vow passing between them. They would face this new challenge together, come what may, their partnership a beacon guiding them through the uncertainty of the road ahead. It was a journey not just toward parenthood but toward each other, toward the rediscovery of the love that had been the bedrock of their shared life. They stepped into the night, a couple united against the odds, ready to embrace the adventure that awaited them. The waiting room of the fertility clinic buzzed with hushed conversations and the rustle of magazines. Ava and Michael sat together but apart, each lost in a private world of hope and fear. It was here that Ava struck up a conversation with Elise and Raj, a couple who mirrored their journey. Their shared stories wove a thread of camaraderie in the sterile space, a human connection amidst the clinical coldness. Elise's laughter, bright and unguarded, offered Ava a glimpse of the support they had been missing. She learned of their trials, of lost twins, and of their unwavering resolve to keep trying. Michael watched from a distance, his heart aching with a mix of admiration and sorrow. The joy of others' success was both a balm and a sting, a reminder of what they had yet to achieve. Social media, once a source of pain for Ava, became a platform for connection. When she and Michael shared their story online, the response was overwhelming. Messages of support flooded in, forming a digital tapestry of encouragement. Among the well-wishes, there were others like them, offering gratitude for their openness, sharing their own tales of struggle. It was a community they hadn't known they needed, and now couldn't imagine being without. Their days fell into a routine, punctuated by the rhythm of treatments. Ava braved the injections with stoicism, each one leaving a mark on her skin, a temporary tattoo of their longing. Michael attended each appointment, his presence a constant as the sun, a hand to hold, a reassuring glance, a shared joke to ease the tension. In the evenings, they attended a meditation class, where the mantra of breath and being offered a respite from the chaos of their thoughts. It was in one such class that Ava found herself sitting cross-legged, her mind refusing to quiet. The instructor's voice was a gentle lull, urging her to release her burdens. And for a moment, she did. The walls of the clinic faded, the pressure lifted, and there was just Ava, just breath, just being. The nurses at the clinic had begun to notice Ava's resilience. She was the warrior, they said, a nickname that made her smile, even as she wished the battle wasn't hers to fight. Michael's protective nature surfaced one afternoon when overhearing disparaging remarks about fertility treatments from a newly successful couple. His words were firm, a defense not just of Ava, but of all who walked this path. Their determination bore fruit when Dr. Patel, usually reserved, showed a hint of a smile at a promising sign in Ava's latest test results. It was no guarantee, but in the world of maybes and what-ifs, it was enough to fuel their hope for another day. One evening, as they closed the door to another round of trials, Ava turned to Michael, a quiet strength in her eyes. "No matter what happens," she said, "we have each other. That's more than enough." Michael pulled her close, the setting sun casting a warm glow over them, an affirmation of their journey together. They had faced the tides of change, and though the future was uncertain, their united front was a testament to the love that had brought them here and the hope that propelled them forward. The relentless march of time had etched itself into the lines of Michael Thompson's face as he sat across from the principal at Jefferson High. The principal's words, though couched in concern, were unyielding. Michael's recent absences were noted, and the undercurrent of his message was clear. The school's patience was waning. The very job that had once been a refuge was now a source of stress, a reminder of the sacrifices their journey demanded. Ava Richardson sat at their kitchen table later that day, surrounded by an army of medical bills. The numbers seemed to mock her, growing larger with each glance. They were bleeding money, savings dwindling with each treatment, and the specter of debt loomed large. She felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. The financial burden was a monster of their own making, and it was hungry. In a moment of despair, while trying to find some financial document, Ava's elbow knocked over a framed photograph, a treasured heirloom from her grandmother. The glass shattered, a spiderweb of cracks that mirrored the fracture lines in her own heart. She stared at the broken pieces, a sob catching in her throat. It was as if their luck, their hope, their chances had splintered along with it. Later that evening, Ava and Michael found themselves locked in a conversation that felt more like a confrontation. Ava's frustration bubbled over. "Do you even understand what this is doing to us?" she implored, her voice quivering with emotion. Michael's response was a silence that filled the room, a testament to his own internal struggle. The words he needed were there, but they were barricaded behind his fear and his desire to protect Ava from any additional pain. The following week, Ava attended the baby shower of a college friend. She pasted on a smile, oohing and eyeing at the tiny clothes and the exuberant mother-to-be. But inside, Ava was crumbling. The festivities were a cruel reminder of the life they were chasing, a life that felt like it was meant for others, not for them. She left early, the pretense of happiness too much to bear. The shadows of doubt grew longer, stretching into every corner of their lives. The once bright and hopeful conversations about the future were now dominated by the ever-present "what if?" The shared dream that had once brought them closer was now a chasm between them, filled with unspoken fears and whispered worries. The chapter closed with Ava and Michael sitting quietly on their back porch, looking up at a canvas of stars. The night was still. The only sound, their intertwined breaths. Here, away from the cold lights of the clinic and the prying eyes of the world, they allowed themselves to be vulnerable. They spoke of their fears, their desires, their love for one another, and the uncertainty of their path ahead. It was a night of truths, of tears, and ultimately of renewed commitment. The stars bore witness to their resolve to continue fighting, to keep hoping, to remain united, no matter the cost. Ava and Michael sat side by side at the community center, the buzz of animated children's voices filling the air. Here they had found a new avenue of purpose, volunteering to tutor and play with kids who brought joy and chaos in equal measure. It was a place where they could give love, even as their own hopes of receiving it, in the form they most desired, seemed to dwindle. Michael watched Ava as she helped a little girl with her reading. There was a light in Ava's eyes that had been absent for so long. In this space, she wasn't Ava the patient, the statistic, the case study. She was simply Ava, whose laughter mingled with the children's, whose maternal warmth found its outlet. Michael's heart swelled with pride. Her resilience, her ability to find joy amidst their own heartache, was nothing short of inspiring. They had also started to share their journey more publicly, chronicling their trials and tribulations on a blog. Ava wrote with raw honesty, her words reaching out across the digital expanse to touch the hearts of strangers. Mikhail contributed too, his prose more reserved, but equally poignant. The blow became a beacon for others in similar plights, and the sense of community it fostered was a balm for their once isolated struggles. One afternoon, Michael prepared a lesson on poetry for the community center's after-school program. He found solace in the verses, the metaphors a lens through which he could process his own complex emotions. The students responded to his passion, their engagement, a reminder of the impact he could have outside of his own personal challenges. As the season turned, bringing crisp air and the rustle of falling leaves, Ava organized a fundraiser for the community center. She threw herself into the task, her organizational skills and creativity coming to the fore. The event was a success, the center filled with laughter, music, and the warm aromas of baked goods and autumnal spices. For a moment, their problems receded into the background, outshone by the community spirit Ava had fostered. Michael found a different kind of fulfillment in the center's book club, leading discussions that wandered from the written word to the intricacies of life. His ability to draw people out, to connect through stories, was a gift that he gave freely, and it returned to him tenfold in the form of appreciation and camaraderie. On one particularly golden afternoon, as the fundraiser buzzed around them, Michael caught Ava's eye across the room. There was a silent conversation that passed between them, a recognition of the shift within them both. The darkness that had once threatened to engulf them was now just a shadow, and in its place, a light of a different kind, a light of giving, of community, of love that went beyond themselves. They ended the day with a quiet walk through the park, the trees a riot of color above them. Ava slipped her hand into Michael's, and they walked in comfortable silence, each step a testament to their journey, a journey that was far from over, but one that they now traveled with a renewed sense of hope and purpose. The fundraiser at the community center was in full swing when Ava and Michael spotted Elise and Raj from their fertility support group. They were cradling a newborn, their faces alight with the glow of new parenthood. Ava felt a pang of longing, but she smiled genuinely, happy for their miracle. Yet standing there amidst the revelry, the old ache in her heart throbbed anew, a reminder of the void that had yet to be filled in her own life. During the event, Ava was swept into a conversation with Elise, who shared the roller coaster journey that had led to their adoption. As Elise spoke of the process, the challenges, and the eventual joy, Ava's emotions churned. Happiness for her friends battled with envy and self-pity. Michael watched from a distance, his heart heavy with empathy for Ava's turmoil. The couple's drive home was quiet, the air between them thick with unspoken thoughts. They had become adept at navigating the waters of other people's joy, but each encounter left them a little more adrift. That night, Ava lay in bed, scrolling through their blog, rereading comments from readers who found solace in their words. Their shared experiences were a lifeline, not just for their readers, but for themselves as well. A week later, the unexpected cancellation of their much-anticipated getaway trip was a blow that landed with a dull thud. The trip was meant to be a respite, a chance to recharge and reconnect away from the world of treatments and trials. Its loss was another entry in a long list of disappointments. As Michael tried to console a visibly upset Ava, he too felt the sting of their dashed plans. The bad news seemed to come in waves when Ava discovered the secret her friend had been keeping. The pregnancy her friend had concealed, out of a misguided attempt to protect Ava's feelings, was now out in the open. Ava's reaction was complex, a cocktail of betrayal, sorrow, and a piercing sense of isolation. Michael held her as she cried, her body shaking with the force of her sobs. They were tears for her friend's baby, for their lost trip. for all the silent spaces in their life that a child's laughter should have filled. As Ava and Michael grappled with these new challenges, they found themselves at a familiar crossroads. The journey they were on had changed them in profound ways, and the path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty. Together, they attended another support group meeting, seeking the solace of shared struggle. The stories they heard were mirrors of their own, reflecting back their pain and their resilience. In a quiet moment after the meeting, as they walked through the dimly lit streets, Michael stopped and faced Ava. "Maybe it's time to consider a different path," he suggested softly. Ava knew he was speaking of adoption, of new beginnings, of letting go of one dream to embrace another. The idea was a balm and a terror all at once. They ended the chapter of their journey that night with a decision to take a step back, to breathe, to allow life to unfold as it would. The resolve to fight, to push, to do everything and anything for a child gave way to a new resolve, to live fully, to love fiercely, and to find contentment in the life they had built together, child or no child. It was a surrender, not to defeat, but to the reality of their present, and to the hope that the future could still hold unimagined joys. The absence of the relentless cycle of treatments left a void in Ava and Michael's life. A silence where once there had been a schedule filled with appointments, injections, and countless tests. Ava felt adrift, the cessation of their long-held routine leaving her with an identity crisis. The woman who had been poised to become a mother now stood at a precipice, the vast expanse of a different life stretching out before her, uncertain and unexplored. Michael watched as Ava withdrew, her once vibrant energy dimmed to a mere flicker. The community center, which had been a haven of purpose, now seemed to amplify her sense of loss. She had once thrown herself into the chaos of children's laughter and learning with abandon. Now she moved among them like a ghost, her actions rote, her smiles forced. It was during one of these afternoons that Michael pulled Ava aside, their hands finding each other's amidst the clutter of art supplies and books. "Remember why we started this," he urged, his voice low and steady. "We wanted to give, to be part of something bigger. Our journey doesn't end here." His words were the flint needed to spark the dimming ember of her spirit. The center's walls, adorned with children's artwork and bright posters, seemed to close in around her. Yet Michael's pep talk lingered in Ava's mind. That evening, as they sat on their porch, wrapped in blankets against the chill of the impending autumn, Ava allowed herself to mourn what might never be. She grieved for the life she had envisioned, for the child that might never come, and for the part of herself she felt she had lost. But in the morning, there was also a release. Ava began to see the outlines of a new path, a different kind of fulfillment. She and Michael had each other, they had love, and they had a life that could be filled with countless other passions and pursuits. Slowly, she started to engage with the community again, her presence at the center becoming less about filling a void and more about enriching the vibrant tapestry of her life. Michael, too, found renewed purpose. He took on a project at the center, creating a little library corner, encouraging children to read and discover new worlds through stories. Watching him, Ava felt a swell of affection. Here was the man she had fallen in love with, whose kindness and strength were the bedrock upon which she could rebuild her sense of self. A breakthrough came one late October day, under a sky so blue it seemed to promise endless possibilities. Ava took the lead in organizing a Halloween party for the center. She threw herself into the preparations with a gusto that had been missing for months. The joy of the children, their excitement palpable as they paraded in their costumes, became her joy too. That night, as they cleaned up confetti and streamers, Michael said, "You were incredible today." Ava looked around at the emptying hall, at the remnants of laughter and celebration, and felt a profound sense of peace. They had not created life, but they had celebrated it, and that was a victory in its own right. The chapter closed with Ava and Michael hand in hand, walking home under the stars. They had faced their darkest hour and had emerged not unscathed, but stronger and more united. The path ahead was still uncertain, but they were certain of each other, and that was enough to light the way forward. The turn of the seasons brought a chill to the air and a sense of renewal to Ava and Michael's world. It was in this time of transformation that Ava, on a whim tinged with residual habit, took a pregnancy test. The positive result appeared as if a relic from a forgotten time. Its 2 lines, a stark contrast to the countless single ones before. She stared in disbelief, a silent scream of joy caught in her throat. Michael entered the bathroom to find Ava holding the test, her face a canvas of shock and burgeoning elation. He took the test from her trembling hands, his eyes tracing the result, daring to believe. The emotions that swept through them were as wild and untamable as the autumn winds outside. Hope, fear, excitement, and an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The days that followed were a delicate dance of cautious optimism. Ava's first ultrasound was a symphony of beats, the thumping of her anxious heart paired with the steady rhythm of the tiny one growing inside her. Michael held her hand, his squeeze a lifeline, anchoring her to the moment, to the flickering image on the screen that spoke of new life. But with the joy came the specter of fear. Early complications sent ripples of anxiety through their hard-won peace. Ava spent nights curled up with Michael, her body a fortress around the fragile life within. Her mind a whirl of what-ifs. Michael, ever the pillar, remained positive, his words painting a future filled with laughter and the patter of tiny feet. The pregnancy progressed, each milestone a triumph. They painted the nursery, a soft daffodil yellow, a room of light and hope. Ava's belly swelled, a testament to the life they had created against all odds. Friends and family rallied around them, their support a tapestry of love that wrapped around the couple and the child to come. As Ava's due date approached, the sense of anticipation grew. Michael assembled the crib, the turn of each screw a note in the symphony of impending fatherhood. Ava, ever the organizer, had everything in place. From diapers to onesies, each item a declaration of readiness, of welcome. The labor was a marathon, a test of endurance. Ava, with Michael by her side, navigated each contraction with a warrior's resolve. When the pain crested like waves, threatening to pull her under, it was Michael's voice that steadied her, reminding her of the strength she possessed. And then, with a final push and a cry that filled the room, their child was born. A girl with Ava's fiery spirit and Michael's thoughtful eyes. They named her Hope, a name chosen for its simplicity and its enormity, for the journey they had endured to meet her. The chapter closed with the 3 of them in the nursery, the early morning light spilling through the window, casting a halo around the new family. Ava fed little Hope, her eyes heavy with exhaustion, but bright with love. Michael watched over them, a silent guardian of this moment, this miracle. Their journey had been one of fire and tears, of love and loss. But as they looked down at the tiny life cradled in their arms, they knew that every step, every fall, had led them to this pinnacle of joy. From the ashes of their struggle had risen a new life, a new chapter, a new hope. In the quiet hours of the morning, with the first light of dawn painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Ava sat in the rocking chair that had once seemed like an unfulfilled promise. Now, it creaked rhythmically under her weight as she cradled Hope, her daughter, the embodiment of their perseverance and love. Michael, though exhausted, watched over them with a sense of awe. In his eyes, Ava had transformed, her strength and tenderness giving form to the life they had created together. He marveled at the delicate features of their daughter, a perfect blend of their likenesses, an heir to their shared history and love. The days that followed were a whirlwind of new routines and discoveries. Every cry, every smile from Hope was a learning experience, a puzzle to solve. Ava and Michael worked as a team, their actions a dance of partnership and care. They celebrated the small victories, a successful feeding, a peaceful night's sleep, the first time Hope grasped their fingers with her tiny hand. Their blog, once a chronicle of their struggles, became a testament to their new life. Ava wrote posts filled with the raw truths of parenthood, the exhaustion, the elation, and the profound love that came with every moment. Michael added his reflections, his words painting the emotional landscape of a new father, navigating the joys and fears that came with the title. The community that had supported them through their darkest times now celebrated with them. The community center threw a small party, children and parents alike eager to meet the new addition to their extended family. Ava watched, her heart full, as Michael introduced Hope to the world they had helped shape, a world that had given them so much support and strength. As autumn gave way to winter, with the first snowflakes dusting the ground, Ava and Michael took Hope for a walk in the park. The world was quiet, muffled by the snow, the trees standing sentinel in rows of white. They paused by the pond, the water frozen over, and Michael spoke of the future, of teaching Hope to skate, to throw snowballs, to find magic in every season. Ava's gaze fell on the reflection of their little family in the ice, a moment frozen in time. They had come through the fire, had weathered the storm, and emerged reborn. The struggles of the past were etched into the essence of who they were, but they did not define them. They were parents, lovers, fighters, survivors. The story concluded with the three of them returning home, the warmth of their house a welcome embrace. The nursery, once a room of yearning, was now a sanctuary of life and laughter. As they settled Hope into her crib, they paused, watching her chest rise and fall in peaceful slumber. Ava and Michael stood shoulder to shoulder, their reflections in the nursery window superimposed against the starry night sky. They had faced the unknown, had stared into the abyss of despair, and had found hope. Their journey was not the one they had planned, but it was theirs, and it was beautiful. And as they turned away from the window, the first cries of their daughter called them to her side, to the new life they would build together under the infinite expanse of the stars.